state is the community. The city is where.
What are you talking about?
The city you're in is what you can touch. Every year you come up and you say, re-elect me, I can help.
The state. And say that. Let me finish my thought. To act as if what happens in Austin does not have an impact on Houston is crazy.
You're making excuses now.
No, I'm not.
You're making excuses.
Okay, here's
now.
What I don't do is be arrogant enough to say, well, I did this. Why can't you?
Watch as Patrick Bet-David and Roland Martin collide in one of the most racially charged and intellectually intense debates in Valuetainment history. In this high-stakes exchange, PBD attempts to pin the crisis of American crime on decades of Democratic urban policy, only to meet a wall of historical fire from Roland Martin. Roland doesn't just deflect, he deconstructs the entire premise, challenging Pat to look past the mayor's office and into a century of systemic reality. From the black conservative takedowns to the CEO logic traps, neither side gives an inch. You have to watch this until the very end to see the exact moment Pat uses his own immigrant welfare baby story to test whether Roland's arguments are facts or just sophisticated excuses. Let's get right into this explosive clash.
27 out of top 30 cities in American crime ran by Democrats. Why?
First, I will tell you. First of all, it's where African Americans are living. So let's bring up Chicago in particular. What you have had in Chicago is you have had some of the greatest racial segregation, not in 20 years, not in 30 years, but literally in 100 plus years.
Led by Democrats.
No. Here's the deal, though. Okay, I will show you how Mississippi has the largest percentage of black people in America, run by Republicans, broke as hell. Explain that. Explain me the highest. Tell me when you have. Hold on. Wait.
Don't spin.
No, I'm not spinning.
No, don't change.
No. What I'm
Let's
showing
stay
you.
on topic.
Hold on. Wait. Hold on.
Let's stay on topic.
We're
the
on
topic is crime 27 out of 30, not economic. Economic is a different story.
No, it's not.
But I agree with you that we need to get the financial situation.
No. And you're making the mistake.
You went to Mississippi. No, you're making the mistake.
No. Here's the mistake you're making.
27 out of 30.
Here's the mistake you're making. When you say crime, I just obliterated a black conservative in my show on this whole issue. When you say crime, you have to then say, okay, what creates crime? No, what creates crime? What creates crime?
When people are not doing well financially.
What else?
Your surrounding environment, who you're around.
No, what else?
Pick up habits.
What else?
Bad policies.
No. What else? See, you're jumping to policies.
But it is bad policies. Wait a minute.
No.
If I lead a company,
the underpinning. Hold on, wait.
If I run a company and I'm the CEO of the company, if the company improves or doesn't improve is based on my policies. I'm the head running the company, the department. If it doesn't improve, it's because of me.
So let me.
What else would it be?
So let me lay it out to you again.
Go for it.
When you talk about what is the underpinning of crime, John Hope Bryant, founder of Operation Hope, this is what he said. He said, "Show me a community where you've seen a riot with a credit score of 700 or higher." The reality is, when you talk about crime in this country, you're talking about economics, you're talking about education, you're talking about housing, you're talking about health. Mm-hmm. Show me areas where you do not have high crime. I'm going to show you areas that don't have the same, aren't as compacted. That's first. What you have is, when you talk about crime in places, you then look at what are the numbers of people there, what are the pockets there, what are those communities, and how did those communities, how were they created literally not over 20, 30 years, but literally over 50, 75, 100 years. Now, that was Jim Crow.
How many years does it take to change?
What are you talking about?
How many years does it take to create change?
How
long does it take to create change?
First of all, you're talking to us about a black in America.
How long does it take to create change?
When you have had, walk through 243 years of slavery, 92 years of Jim Crow, and then you get to 1970 when you are technically fully free, you can't act like all of that before did not impact. The issues that you're having now have to do with not Democratic or Republican policies. It has to do with literally white supremacy and Jim Crow in America. We are still, to act as if we are still not dealing with that. How did housing discrimination take place in this country? Do you know who created it? The realtors. They apologize for it.
Why are you going away from the question?
No, because
Roland,
here's the deal, though. You don't want to deal with what creates crime areas.
You got to realize this. Listen,
I'm dealing with the real truth. How they create it. What you're dealing with is, there are democratic areas. What I'm dealing with is how do you deal with the historical reality of neighborhoods that simply can't be just, we elected one person and they're just going to change it.
Roland,
doesn't work that way.
Roland.
Okay, so let's pause for a bit. Patrick Bet-David is attempting to pin the chaos of American crime on the current leadership, but Roland Martin is using a historical shield to deflect every single data point. Pat's argument is built on a forensic reality. 27 out of the top 30 highest crime cities in America are run by Democrats. But Roland tries to make Pat look like he's oversimplifying the issue by ignoring a century of context. Roland points to 100 years of racial segregation and Jim Crow to claim that modern policy is irrelevant compared to historical white supremacy. He even attempts to obliterate the argument by citing Mississippi as a Republican-run failure, trying to shift the focus away from the urban centers Pat is actually discussing. Furthermore, Pat sets a brilliant logic trap by comparing a city to a corporation. He argues that if a CEO is responsible for a company's failure, the mayor must be responsible for the city's department. But Roland refuses to engage with the CEO logic, instead doubling down on the idea that Black Americans only became technically free in 1970 and are still trapped by the housing and education policies of the past. Roland Martin treats historical trauma as an absolute excuse for modern failure, but Patrick Bet-David is demanding accountability in the present tense. As a conservative, I see this as a perfect example of why we cannot allow historical context to become a permanent get-out-of-jail-free card for bad governance. Let's see how Pat uses his own life story to dismantle Roland's narrative once and for all.
I was born in Iran, 10 years. My mother's a communist, my dad's an imperialist. We escape, we go to Germany. I lived at a refugee camp for 2 years, with people who are Yugoslavian, Czech, Albanian at the time, and they're all leaving for a reason. I come to the States, I'm a welfare baby. I'm a food stamp baby. Just letting you know, my parents are divorced twice in 20 years. I'm going to Glendale High School. I have a lunch ticket I would sell because I don't have any money. I'm 6'1", 130 pounds. That should tell you the fact that we don't come from a lot of money. One day, I'm in the school, and my teacher starts talking about politics. Up until that point, when I think about politics, all I think about is divorce. Because I think about my mom and dad arguing all the time. I have a lot of pain linked to politics at the time. And the teacher's obviously the teacher's going to be a Democrat because she's presenting how rich people are this rich. I'm like, okay, great, rich people are bad. So I come home.
I obviously
13-1. That's the number. That's
dude. I had a whole lot of damn Republican teachers in my life.
Well, I like stats, and the stats are 13-1 is Democrats to Republican. You know the stats. So I come home and I say, Mom, are we Republicans or Democrats? And she said, we're Democrats. I said, tell me why. She says, because the Democrats are for the poor, Republicans are for the rich. So my mom says. You know what I told her? I said, when I grow up, I want to be a Republican. Not because I want to be a Republican. I don't know what the policies are.
So first of all, who's actually for the rich and the poor? Who?
Who is for the rich and the poor?
She said it. She said Republicans for the rich, Democrats are for the poor. Is that you say you love? Is it true or not?
First of all,
is it true or not?
Whether that's true, statistically, more rich people are on the Democratic side today than the Republican side.
But no. You say who are for, not who's rich, but who are they for the policy?
But Roland, this is you. You're smart.
No, your mom said it.
I understand, but you're a smart guy, bro. Listen, when I watch you, you're not a dummy. You're very smart, okay? So sometimes John Maxwell says something very important that I completely held to myself. And every time I break this, I don't like it. He said, the moment you learn sales and you learn persuasion, okay? The moment you learn the ability how to persuade, you, me, we learn how to persuade. He says, be very careful to not go one step above that, which is to manipulate just to win all arguments, because you can. You can win any argument if you want to. You can play devil's advocate and flip the argument, play the Republican side, and you make one hell of an argument to beat a Democrat because you can do that. You have the ability, I have the ability as well. I don't want to do that. What I'm asking you right now is the following. Results. Today, 27 out of 30 cities that are ran by Democrats are the highest crime in America. That's stats.
What states are those in? What are those states?
The states are different than the community.
New York, Chicago, LA.
But that's not the thing. The state is the community. The city is where.
What are you talking about?
The city you're in is what you can touch. every year you come up and you say, re-elect me, I can help.
The state. Listen, I am born and raised in Texas, Houston, Clinton Park. To act as if what? No.
Oh, so then what you're saying is, let's stop voting for mayors. They're a waste of time.
No, see,
because they can't do anything.
First of all, I didn't say that. Let me finish my thought. I am born and raised in Houston, Texas. Grew up in Clinton Park neighborhood. To act as if what happens in Austin does not have an impact on Houston is crazy.
You're making excuses now.
No, I'm not.
You're making excuses.
Okay, here's the deal, though. See, it's real easy to say it's excuses when I'm stating facts. And the point I'm stating is...
That's not a fact. That's just an opinion.
No, it's a fact. The state of Texas significantly has an impact economically, educationally on what happens in Houston. That's a fact.
Yeah, but
as somebody who, as a kid, traveled with my mom to rallies and events with the metropolitan organization and the state capitol, I understand.
Did you grow up rich?
Who?
Did you grow up rich?
No, my parents didn't even go to college.
How are you rich then?
What do you mean how?
How are you rich?
Here's how.
How are you rich?
No, here's how.
Yeah.
Because first and foremost, the neighborhood that I grew up in it was one of the first master plan communities by HUD. What you had in my neighborhood was you had folks, first of all, I had mom and dad, one, who also
married together.
Also, hell yeah, they're still married, 56 years, who absolutely believed in education. Now, what I recognize is, so for me, in my household, what my parents emphasized, never went to college. Then my brother went to Texas A&M. I went to Texas A&M. My sister went to Texas A&M. And so that was our house. What I recognize is that somebody who is next door or across the street or around the corner did not have the situation that I had. Now, I totally get that. What I don't do is be arrogant enough to say, well, I did this. Why can't you?
Patrick just took total control of this debate. Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel right now if you agree with Pat. It is so important to engage with this video so more people can hear the truth. Roland Martin tries a very familiar trick here. After his historical Jim Crow shield fails to explain away the 27 high-crime cities, he pivots to a desperate defense of the systemic failure narrative. That is a weak and desperate argument when confronted with Pat's forensic resume. Pat reveals he was a welfare baby, a food stamp recipient, and a refugee who started with nothing in America. Pat isn't speaking from a place of privilege. He's speaking from the reality of the American dream. Pat brings up a very real and forensic fact. There is a fine line between persuasion and manipulation. He calls out Roland for being too smart, implying that Roland is using his intellect to win an argument rather than solve the problem of urban decay. While Roland Martin acts like a spokesperson for the victimhood narrative, Pat is speaking for the individuals who refuse to let their past dictate their future. Roland tries to label Pat's points as arrogant just because Pat asks, I did this, why can't you? But Pat proves he is the only one demanding true accountability by refusing to accept excuses for modern failure. Roland even tries to use his own stable, 56-year marriage household as an example of success, yet he still fights to protect the very policies that dismantle families in these 27 cities. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you agree with Patrick's focus on modern results and individual accountability, or do you side with Roland Martin's perspective that historical systemic failure is the primary driver of the crisis in our cities? Let me know in the comments below right now. That is it for today's video. Subscribe, hit the like button, and share this video so we can keep making more videos like these for you.